You know, when your parents used to say, hey, you don't call me or visit me anymore. Usually, when they've said that, it's probably because you were somehow annoyed by something they did at Christmas or Thanksgiving. Well, how many tax dollars has the Canadian public been handing over to the Prime Minister and his ministers, his cabinet, so that they can jet off to places like the US, Paris, Singapore, Seoul, the Vatican, wherever? Well, I'll tell you how many. Far too many taxpayer dollars going that way. Meanwhile, back in Ottawa, the arrivals hall at Ottawa International Airport, especially with foreign leaders, is dead quiet. Where are these foreign heads of state? Where are the global dignitaries knocking on our door with the reciprocal side of these trade deals that have supposedly been signed? What about the mission briefs or signing pens in hand? Silence. That's what we're exposing today. You can have a prime minister who appears to be highly traveled, globally connected, and respected, and a country which is not actually attracting inbound state visits, major foreign leader engagement, or the kind of international bonami that the media would have you believe. We're supposed to be and are super into these deals, aren't we? Well, two things can be true. The optics are busy, but the substance is hollow. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things. I'm Chris Baker. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the conversation down below. It's your last word for your Wednesday. And let's start with the outbound traffic, because that's the easy to follow one. Mark Carney has already made multiple foreign trips since becoming prime minister. For example, the government acknowledges that he's had at least 13 foreign visits since March 2025, and that doesn't even include the visits that his ministers are making. The message in mainstream headlines: see how connected Canada is under Carney? Oh, he's opening up new markets. Look at all these deals and memorandums of understanding. He's building alliances. Well, all of that is used to brand Carney as a global statesman, but we have some proof that these memorandums of understanding don't mean anything at all. There's travel costs, jet fuel, per diems, hotels, security, logistics, staff, the whole machine. That's your tax money in action. The Liberal cabinet itself is out the door nearly every week as well, and they fly into places, like I said earlier, Bangkok, Brussels, Seoul, Taiwan, maybe, the Vatican, whomever, and they come back with media-friendly announcements. So yes, the plane does get fueled up. It doesn't sit idly. The schedule and the optics are real. They're going places. But you and I have to really start asking some questions here. What concrete inbound follow-through is there? If we had really signed these deals and they meant something, shouldn't some of these leaders or their dignitaries be visiting us too? But the arrivals at Ottawa International Airport are quiet. If we flip that lens and ask, is Canada gaining major foreign leader visits? The answer is no. Are world leaders or heads of state or government lining up to come to Ottawa to meet Mark Carney? No. Have you seen any signs of that? No, he's always out somewhere else. One benchmark, according to an evaluation of the Federal Official Visits and Official Events Program between 2005 and 2010, we actually had some data on this. The average number of incoming visits to Canada, official and working, was about 45 per year from officials. That includes all sorts of official visits from leaders to their dignitaries. Now, what do we see recently? Well, we don't have data. The data is being hidden. There is no data right now on how many dignitary visits we're seeing over the last year and maybe even two. We're seeing lots of status and data on U.S. travel being down from Canadians going to the U.S., vice versa, all that stuff, general travel data for sure. But when it comes to dignitaries, it's hidden. Those broad travel numbers don't mean anything to us when we aren't getting deals done with some of these other countries. If Canada were buzzing as a diplomatic destination, you'd expect sharp increases in high-level official visits, at least visible ones. Shouldn't there be more news on that? But there's no public parade of world leaders here. They're not visiting Parliament. They're not visiting Mark Carney. They're not visiting at all. Also, the publicly available data for these visits by foreign leaders in Canada stops at those older years. I mean, it's not just the last 2 years. Showing us that these inbound visits are not, or are clearly not being recorded, has been happening since Trudeau, when the world stopped liking us at all. Inbound big league visits are not publicly manifesting in a way consistent with with Carney's message of being loved globally either. We had it with Trudeau. We stopped tracking it because people stopped visiting. And now we have no indication that there's any visits happening from foreign dignitaries whatsoever, except, of course, if you're part of a G7 meeting that was long pre planned for here. So we dug deeper to see if we're actually at the lowest level of foreign leader visits in modern Canadian history. And here's what the record shows and what it doesn't, why it's so hard to find this information. First, Canada's own Office of Protocol coordinates every state and official visit. Okay, that's how this works, from motorcades to airport ceremonies. But here's the catch: there is no public year by year ledger listing how many foreign leaders visited Canada in any given year. Older evaluation reports, like the one I referenced earlier from 2005 to 2010, showed roughly 45 official visits per year. But after that, the data goes pretty dark. Now, there's no annual tallies, there's no archives, there's no way to verify what the trend looks like in 2025. That alone is telling, because if Canada were buzzing with international traffic, you can bet that they'd be publishing the number in big bold type. The world wants to be here. The world wants to meet with Mark Carney. The world sees us as mattering at all. Then I checked the Statistics Canada non-resident arrival series as a proxy for overall foreign traffic, and we got the in July 2025 non-residents trips to Canada by commercial aircraft stood around 1.4 million. That's down 5.3% as they've reported from a year earlier. August ticked up a hair, but not by much. There was no real surge you'd associate with Canada being suddenly visited by global diplomatic hub. So even if we use broad travel as a stand-in, it's flat to declining. So no sign of any kind of renaissance or people visiting from foreign countries because Mark Carney happened to visit them and said good things. Third, the only publicly compiled historic list of foreign leader visits is really hosted by the US State Department, and it stops decades ago as well. It confirms that Canada was once a routine stop for presidents, prime ministers, even state leaders, and royalty for that matter. But you can't track modern day frequency. Why? Well, the lack of transparency means no one outside government can really say lowest ever, but you can confidently say there's no evidence of any surge in foreign leader visits here, and no proof that Canada under Carney is a magnet whatsoever for visits from foreign dignitaries. If anything, the silence is the story. No one's coming here. So let's be precise. There is no public data showing a boom in foreign leaders. I get that, especially the ones coming to Canada, and no modern ledger showing at all it being at record highs or anything. What we do know is that the media spin sells Carney as global super connector, while airports here stay completely dead silent and Ottawa publishes nothing that proves otherwise. That gap between the message and the metrics is a problem. We're saying in our news that Mark Carney's everywhere and he's a man of the world, but the world won't come to him, only allowing him to come to them. And really, you can't stop him from landing at your airport, so you kind of have to meet him. It's like they don't want to, but hey, he's here anyway. It's like the uncle that shows up at the door drunk. You got to let him in or he's going to terrorize the neighborhood. On one hand, Carney is portrayed as the global statesman, the man who commands respect and brings Canada to the table. On the other hand, the runway, or for inbound dignitaries, is very clearly quiet, and available data doesn't show a flood of foreign leaders arriving into Pearson Airport or to Ottawa International. So what in the hell is going on here? How can he be a man of the world when the world won't come to see him? Here's the propaganda points we see. Every time Carney boards a plane, there's a press release. We see him and one of the ostriches he stole. Or no, sorry, that's Diana. She's going with him on these planes, but he goes to pursue trade and trade diversification. To what end? There's nothing that ever comes back from that. The travel optics, of course, as well. Media thrives on pictures of prime ministers stepping on and off jets with their wives and shaking hands, signaling glitzy MOUs, memorandums of understanding, by the way. But what often isn't shown is whether those MOUs lead to real deliverables at all, investment, or visits back from foreign partners. And guess what? If there was actual investment, those foreign leaders would be coming here. So here's the reality check. If foreign governments truly believed Carney's Canada was the place to be, you would see regular high-profile foreign leader visits to Ottawa. Even if it's part of their ministry, you would see it. We're not seeing any of it. That would be outside of major summits, by the way, but we don't. Okay, don't count the G7. Doesn't matter. They had to be here anyway. It's just wherever that was, they were going. The cost of outbound travel, fuel, staff, security, hotels is visible to us, if not transparently itemized, because it's not in general government spending. However, the return on that travel? Well, real inbound diplomacy, meetings resulting in long term commitments, incoming state visits to see what they can get out of Canada and its trade is completely underwhelming, if not non existent. Government narratives, Canada is forging new alliances being one of them, Carney is respected internationally being another, are not matched by empirical metrics of inbound visits or diplomatic gravitas being transferred into visible results. If we were going to sell our oil elsewhere, wouldn't a foreign dignitary come to see what they're buying? Look, I'll call it like it is. This is a classic case of PR juggle. Lots of motion, lots of travel, lots of photo ops and statements, but behind all of these things, many unanswered questions. First of all, being what came of it? What is real about it? Who's coming to visit Canada to check out what they just bought from you, Mark? Are we exaggerating real deals or just talking about deals and they actually aren't even deals at all? There is a real question here, folks. People would be coming here. But none of these memorandums of understanding have caused any increase in foreign dignitary travel to this country, and that is a concern. And you might be sitting there wondering, but how can Carney be respected and we still have weak inbound visits? It's a question I have too, because human perception and propaganda don't always match measurable outcomes. Here's how they can actually simultaneously be true. Carney boards a plane, meets foreign officials, signs statements, then that builds the impression of respect and diplomacy. But are they just answering the door for drunk uncle? Because nobody's coming back here post those signings. Inbound visits are harder to find. Foreign leaders may not prioritize Canada if Canada isn't a strategic pivot for them, or if relationships are transactional and not deep. And that's what we're seeing. So while Carney can claim he's forging new relationships, he travels, he speaks respectfully about these people, it doesn't guarantee that others are going to rush here, and they aren't. The media loves the outbound travel narrative, makes it look like he's doing something. It's dynamic and visual. The inbound narrative is the real story. Quiet arrivals, if not any of them, doesn't make headlines. So the image of global statesmen is heavily amplified, while the reality of weak inbound flows coming to see what they just purchased is largely and completely ignored. But nobody's coming here. Carney may have earned respect in certain circles. I don't doubt that some people respect him. Obviously, I can't deny that, but that does not automatically translate into foreign leaders planning frequent visits to Canada, especially if they have no intention of trading with us. Respect is not the same as becoming a priority destination. Now, here's the thing. The taxpayer angle on this, and all while it matters to you, I'll get it out, I promise, is we need to bring this home for you because, as I always say on this show, it's for you. Every hour the prime minister or his ministers and entourage board a jet means costs to you. Aircraft hours, including maintenance, security, per diems for staff, hotel stays for everybody, meals, local transport, and so much more. It's not cheap, let's put it that way. Meanwhile, if these trips don't yield significant inbound interest, they don't yield actual deals or follow through, you begin to ask, what the heck is the cost benefit for what I'm giving you to take these trips? The public deserves clarity here. What tangible results came from each trip? How many high-level foreign leaders decided to visit us next because there's a real deal on the go? How many new inbound investments or commitments arrived? If the arrivals runway remains completely quiet in Ottawa or Pearson, taxpayers might conclude that we funded a travel spree and that's it. And Canada is still not on the global priority list. In an era where Canadians worry about housing, affordability, debt, inflation, you can argue that this is not the best optics or fiscal discipline to be taking trips all around the world only to be finding that nobody comes back here. It means that whatever you're saying to them, whatever you're doing, and whatever you're signing is not worth the paper it's written on because they don't come here to see if they can do that trade. Here's what I want you, the viewer, to understand from all of this today. Don't buy the photo op narrative hooks in the news. You're getting them hook, line, and sinker. The next time you read Carney travels to 16 countries, ask yourself, how many of those countries sent leaders back here after those trips? What came of those things? What came of those trips? Did a trade mission materialize? Did Canada become a destination of choice? Yes, Mark Carney is flying all over the place, and the optics of that seem good at the beginning of his prime ministership. But Canada is not being returned to. The record data shows we can't, well, actually, a lot of it we can't even access, but there's an obvious reduction in leader visits. There's no boom in inbound official diplomacy or a Canadian airport arrivals hall that is bursting with global VIPs. They're not even bursting with one. In short, the mainstream media is feeding you one side of the story. He's out there, the outbound grandeur, while largely they ignore the fact that there's inbound silence. That matters, not just for accountability, but for your tax dollars and the real impact of Canadian foreign policy. If you liked this, if you think this is a real thing, you got to believe in it. You got to share it. Because, look, the whole thing is if we don't share, nobody gets that the narrative is fake. So drop a comment below. How many times have you heard global Canada, yet stop to ask yourself, where the heck is everybody coming here? Why aren't they here? That's the question we have to ask ourselves in the comments down below. Have that discussion. Would you not believe that foreign dignitaries, after these MOUs have been signed months ago now, in some cases, would start visiting us? Would start looking at the things they might trade with Canada as part of those deals? Wouldn't they send some of their companies, some of the executives, some of the ministers or state people, if it's a state person? No, none of it's happening. It's empty. We don't see any news about anyone visiting us here. Mark Carney never has to pause travel to meet a foreign dignitary that's coming here. The last time it happened was the king, when he was invited to read the throne speech. And guess what? That resulted in nothing but taxpayer dollars out the window. We received zero benefit from that visit whatsoever. And ever since then, there have been no visits at all. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Please share this video. We have got to start educating liberals on the fact that they are being fed a bill of goods by our mainstream media and by our liberal government, because the proof is on the runway. Nobody's landing here, which means nothing that he's done foreign-wise, going out and signing these deals, means a hill of goods at all, because they have no interest in coming here, which means they have no interest in pursuing that deal. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things, The Last Word. We will catch you tomorrow morning on The First Sip. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night.